The recent legal battles surrounding Big U have taken a shocking turn, with multiple serious charges now hanging over his head. Eugene "Big U" Henley, once seen as a towering figure in the hip-hop industry and South Los Angeles streets, is facing a slew of allegations that could reshape his legacy forever. On the surface, Big U has always been known as a music executive, a man who helped launch the career of the late Nipsey Hussle and ran a youth charity that purportedly sought to combat gang violence. However, the criminal charges against him tell a much darker story, one involving murder, fraud, extortion, and more. Federal authorities recently unsealed a 43-count indictment that could see Big U facing life in prison. The most chilling accusation centers around the 2021 murder of 21-year-old rapper Ron Williams, who had been signed to Big U's Unique music label. Prosecutors allege that the tension between the two began when Williams released a diss track aimed at Big U, a move that reportedly disrespected him and tarnished his reputation. According to the indictment, Big U didn't take kindly to the disrespect and is accused of kidnapping Williams before taking his life. Williams's body was found near a Nevada landfill, riddled with gunshot wounds. The murder is believed to be an act of retaliation, an example of how serious matters of respect are in the streets. But the murder is just one layer in this complex and disturbing case. Big U is also facing charges under the RICO Act, which ties him to a criminal conspiracy with the Rollin' 60s Crips. Federal authorities claim that Big U used his position both in the streets and in the music industry to further a criminal empire, involving a range of illegal activities, from extortion to trafficking. The indictment also includes accusations of fraud and embezzlement, suggesting Big U misappropriated funds from his anti-gang charity and engaged in wire fraud, bank fraud, and theft of taxpayer money. Adding to the intrigue, Big U is also facing obstruction of justice charges. The feds have released wiretap conversations where Big U allegedly brags about his violent acts, saying things like, "I'm a killer, period. I am going to murder." Such statements add another layer of intensity to an already dangerous situation. Now, here's where things take an even more unsettling turn. There have been rumors circulating that a disturbing video, allegedly featuring Big U, has surfaced from behind bars. The video is said to show some chilling details related to the murder of Williams, and it's quickly going viral. If true, this footage could be a key piece of evidence that tips the scales against him in court. However, there's an important caveat. Big U has been in federal custody since March 2025, and inmates typically have limited access to communication tools. This raises questions about how such a video would have surfaced, considering the constraints on his communications from behind bars. Some people are even suggesting that the video might have been confused with footage from another high-profile murder case involving rapper MO3, which is unrelated to Big U. Despite the murkiness surrounding the video, the core of the case remains undeniably serious. If the allegations are true, Big U's fall from grace is nothing short of tragic. From his rise as a respected figure in the community to his alleged involvement in a violent criminal organization, this case reveals a chilling dichotomy between the public persona he built and the dark reality federal prosecutors are now accusing him of. Whether the video from jail will be the smoking gun that seals his fate remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. The story of Big U is far from over, and its next chapter is likely to be just as dramatic. The details surrounding Big U's alleged actions are chilling, and the charges he's facing only paint a darker picture of a man whose influence in both the music and criminal world may have been much deeper than anyone realized. According to federal prosecutors, Big U is accused of a murder that would shake anyone to their core. The story goes that Big U, in a brutal act of vengeance, allegedly drove 21-year-old Ron Williams, an aspiring rapper signed to his label, to North Las Vegas. There, it's said that Big U shot Williams in the head before disposing of his body, along Interstate 15, leaving him in a remote desert ditch. The body, discovered several miles from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, bore multiple gunshot wounds to the face, a horrific end to a young life. But this is only the beginning of the disturbing narrative. In the aftermath of the murder, prosecutors claim that Big U took steps to cover his tracks. He allegedly ordered studio workers to leave while an associate removed surveillance footage that could tie him to the crime. There are also accusations that he tried to silence potential witnesses, telling them to keep quiet when questioned by law enforcement. This pattern of obstruction and evasion only adds to the complexity of the case against him. The FBI affidavit details that the root of the dispute between Big U and Williams stemmed from a diss track Williams had released, which prosecutors argue disrespected Big U's authority. While DNA evidence didn't definitively link Big U to the crime scene, it didn't rule him out either. Witness testimony also adds to the mounting evidence, with one individual claiming to have seen Big U at an Airbnb in Las Vegas around the time of the murder. Big U, however, is not backing down. In a series of social media videos before turning himself in, he vehemently denied the accusations. In the videos, he criticized the charges as a smear campaign against him, claiming that the allegations were designed to tarnish his reputation as a prominent figure in the Black community. He insisted that the claims about his nonprofit, Developing Options, were unfounded, stating that it had been essential in supporting his family and paying his bills. He dismissed the charges as bullcrap and vowed to fight them. On March 19, 2025, Big U turned himself in, but the legal battle was just beginning. On April 22, 2025, a judge ruled that he would remain in custody pending trial due to the gravity of the charges and the risk he posed to the community. Federal prosecutors argued that he was a flight risk and a potential threat to victims and witnesses. The indictment paints a picture of Big U not just as a man involved in a single murder, but as the leader of a vast criminal enterprise that spanned far beyond the streets. According to the feds, Big U used his image as a music industry figure and community activist to mask his involvement in a variety of criminal activities, including racketeering, extortion, and even human trafficking. His nonprofit organization, Developing Options, which receives significant funding for anti-gang initiatives, is accused of being a front for his criminal operations. Big U is also accused of embezzling millions of dollars from his nonprofit, including $2.35 million from the Los Angeles Mayor's Gang Reduction Program. Instead of using the funds for their intended purpose, prosecutors allege that Big U funneled the money into personal accounts and used it to fund his criminal activities. The indictment also highlights disturbing extortion activities, including a $3 million debt allegedly collected from an NBA All-Star in 2022. On top of this, there are allegations of robbery, drug trafficking, and even prostitution, charges that only further complicate Big U's already precarious situation. Perhaps one of the most unsettling charges is the accusation that Big U was involved in human trafficking. He allegedly paid someone to transport women across state lines for prostitution. With all these allegations combined, Big U faces the possibility of life in prison. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges, and his trial is scheduled for May 20th, 2025. Amidst all the legal chaos, the family of Ron Williams is speaking out, demanding justice and pointing to Big U's involvement in the crime. Williams's mother has publicly stated her belief that Big U is responsible for her son's death. This case presents a stark contrast between the public persona of Big U, a community activist and music mogul, and the darker, more sinister allegations being levied against him. While these charges are incredibly serious, it's important to remember that in the American justice system, every individual is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Though the prosecution's evidence is circumstantial, it's clear that Big U's defense team will have their hands full trying to counter the mounting case against him. On top of all this, the murmurings of a possible connection between Big U and the 2019 murder of rapper Nipsey Hussle only add fuel to the fire, though there's no concrete evidence to tie him directly to that tragedy. This entire saga is still unfolding, but one thing is certain: Big U's story is far from over, and as the trial date approaches, more details will surely emerge, continuing to shape this complex and troubling narrative. At one point, Big U and Nipsey Hussle were close, even partners in the industry. But their relationship reportedly soured over something that might seem trivial on the surface: music equipment. The fallout allegedly inspired Hussle to drop a track titled "You Don't Got a Clue," which many listeners believe was a direct diss aimed at Big U. In it, Hussle raps, "You think that I'm gonna stop for you? I built this on my own, and everybody knows it's true." He also references how others still act like they should control his choices, signaling his frustration with those trying to dictate his career. The tension reportedly escalated to a point where Big U allegedly considered taking action against Hussle. However, according to sources, Hussle's brother stepped in before things got out of hand, potentially averting further violence. Around this time, there was also an incident involving a shooting, and while the police were called, the details remain unclear. In March 2019, the untimely and tragic death of Nipsey Hussle shook the entire hip-hop world and the wider community. Hussle, a revered rapper, entrepreneur, and activist, was gunned down outside his clothing store, The Marathon, in South Los Angeles. The shooter, Eric Holder, was a member of the Rollin' 60s Crips, a gang that had ties to Hussle's neighborhood. Holder, who had a long-standing personal history with Hussle, shot him multiple times before fleeing the scene. Holder was later arrested, tried, and convicted of first-degree murder. In 2022, he was sentenced to 60 years to life in prison, which included consecutive sentences for murder and other charges related to the killing. The widely accepted narrative behind the murder points to a personal dispute between Holder and Hussle, which allegedly involved accusations of snitching. Hussle had previously spoken out against individuals who cooperated with law enforcement, and rumors suggested that Holder was upset over being labeled a snitch. However, as is often the case in high-profile murders, the details of the incident have left room for much speculation. One of the more controversial theories that has surfaced over time involves Big U, the influential figure in the music industry, and alleged leader of a criminal enterprise. Big U, whose real name is Kenny Henley, was not directly implicated in Hussle's murder, but has become a central figure in the speculation surrounding it. Various sources have suggested that Big U may have known more about the circumstances leading up to Hussle's death than was initially reported. The most compelling and controversial piece of evidence fueling this speculation is a 2020 podcast appearance by Wack 100 and Loose Cannon on No Jumper. During the interview, Loose Cannon claimed that Big U had called him just 30 minutes before Hussle was shot, informing him of the impending tragedy. According to Cannon, Big U had already known that Hussle was about to be killed. However, when Cannon called Hussle to check on him, the rapper answered the phone, seemingly unaware of the danger. This peculiar timeline has led to further questions about Big U's potential involvement or prior knowledge of the events surrounding the murder. While no concrete evidence has surfaced to directly link Big U to Hussle's death, the resurfaced podcast clip, along with other rumors circulating on social media, has only intensified suspicions. Many believe that Big U's past association with both Hussle and the Rollin' 60s Crips gives him a possible connection to the murder, whether through direct involvement or simply having prior knowledge of the crime. This speculation, however, remains just that, speculation. The official narrative continues to point to Holder as the sole perpetrator, with no evidence emerging to suggest a wider conspiracy. However, these lingering questions surrounding Big U's role, or lack thereof, reflect the complicated and often murky relationships between street politics, hip-hop, and criminality, particularly in Los Angeles, where loyalty and betrayal can sometimes blur the lines between personal disputes and fatal outcomes. Resurfaced clip from a 2020 No Jumper podcast features Wack 100 and Loose Cannon discussing an alleged phone call Big U made to Loose Cannon, saying that Hussle had been killed 30 minutes before it happened. Cannon recounts that Big U FaceTimed him with the news, and after a quick exchange, Cannon called Hussle to check on him. To his surprise, Hussle answered the phone, completely unaware of the impending danger. Cannon even shared that he said goodbye to Hussle, thinking the information was wrong, only to later receive confirmation of Hussle's death. This podcast segment was removed shortly after Big U's 2025 arrest, which fueled further suspicion. Additional videos, including one where Big U can be seen laughing after hearing the news of Hussle's death, have sparked more controversy. Without context, it's difficult to determine what that laughter truly meant. It could have been disbelief, shock, or something else entirely, but the conspiracy theories don't end there. SKG, a former death row artist, weighed in during a TMZ interview, alleging that Big U played a role in Hussle's murder. She claimed that Big U was behind multiple attacks on her and used extortion to intimidate others into compliance. These claims, like many others in the case, remain unverified. Adding to the chaos, Charleston White, known for stirring the pot with his provocative statements, also suggested Big U's involvement in Hussle's death. He claimed that Eric Holder wasn't acting alone and that Big U had something to do with it. However, as of now, there's no solid evidence to back up these claims. It's important to note that while the federal indictment against Big U does acknowledge his past relationship with Hussle, it does not link him to the murder. The legal focus remains firmly on the case involving Ron Williams, the young rapper who was allegedly murdered by Big U. Much of the speculation surrounding Big U's possible connection to Hussle's death is based on statements from individuals with their own histories of controversy, and no direct evidence has surfaced to support the claims. The deleted podcast video, which allegedly depicted Big U's prior knowledge of the murder, could simply reflect the show's caution following his arrest, rather than a sign of guilt. In the larger context, these various rumors and allegations all tie back to a broader narrative about the blurred lines between the hip-hop industry, street politics, and criminal activities. The situation is even more complex when you consider Big U's public persona as a community activist and leader of the nonprofit organization Developing Options, which received substantial funding for anti-gang initiatives. But according to federal prosecutors, this charitable front was a smokescreen for his continued involvement in criminal activities. From extortion to fraud, from drug trafficking to human trafficking, Big U's alleged actions paint a picture of a man who used his influence to manipulate and control others for his personal gain. If the allegations are true, it would represent a profound betrayal of the trust placed in him by the community, donors, and individuals who believed in his message. Big U's nonprofit was supported by significant figures like NBA stars Draymond Green and Shaquille O'Neal, and if he did misuse these funds for criminal purposes, it would be a violation of public trust on an extraordinary scale. This case is a stark reminder of the power of the RICO, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, a law designed to dismantle criminal organizations from the top down. It has been used against other hip-hop figures in recent years, such as Young Thug and Casanova, and now it targets Big U as the trial approaches, scheduled for May 20th, 2025. More details will emerge about the case against Big U. His defense team will have the chance to counter the allegations, but for now, he remains in federal custody. The charges are serious, and if convicted, Big U faces life in prison. This case highlights the tangled web of hip-hop, street life, and criminality, showing how personal conflicts can evolve into violent disputes and how a person's public image can be vastly different from their true actions. If Big U is guilty, it would not only be a fall from grace for someone trusted by his community, but also a betrayal that cuts to the heart of the values he once claimed to uphold. His story, however it unfolds, serves as a chilling reminder of how easily power, influence, and the thirst for control can lead to devastating consequences.